Running Sentences presents a bonus episode. Selling a home. A realtor is showing you a home that has a bit of a dubious history. This realtor seems rather unperturbed by it all and goes around showing off the place anyway, despite its weird vibes. This story is a work of fiction. Any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, real situations, events, and or anything really, is purely coincidental. This story is written and narrated by Michael Honnery. Copyright 2023, Michael Honnery. All rights reserved. The grand old house looked like it was steeped in history and creeping vines that covered much of the front of the place. It was a 3-story structure with white peeking out on occasions through the vines, which wrapped their way upwards, having reached the 3rd floor, but just barely. The place was surrounded by dark woods all around, making it seem dark as you approached the front deck to this place. It was a piece that extended out a fair way from the front of the house. The whole thing felt off, but you couldn't tell what exactly it was, as you stepped up steep steps to get up to the deck. The agent for the home, a thin man in a black suit, stepped away from the front door and headed over to you in a second. "Good afternoon. It is so kind of you to take time to come out here and experience this lovely home. It is one of a kind and so unlike anything you've ever experienced ever before. I love the look of this place, and it is pity that every time I show it, the potential buyers decide they suddenly don't want it anymore. Don't know why, but shall we explore the insides, or would you like to take a look at this deck and this lawn a bit more? There is no rush. We have quite a comfortable afternoon to do this in." A look out at the well-maintained lawn and deck were all incredibly nice to look at. Not one thing looked off, and all was well taken care of, and looked very nice. And the lawn even had those lines showing where they'd been cut, precisely, and very recently apparently. But that also made the whole thing feel off. Like things were frozen in place with how they looked. So it was nice to look at and perfect, but weird. "Well, it is nice. The interior is much nicer to look at. Please come inside and see what this wonderful place has to offer all before us." The agent for the house seemed to glide his way across the deck after saying that as he headed for the front door, with the keys in hand, jingling away as he went. The door was soon creaking its way open, revealing a wooden-looking interior from what you could see. Curiosity being the best of all of us, it had already drawn you near to this door, as the agent swept his arm in to show you inside. "There is no time to waste now, is there?" In you went, looking at the well-lit mudroom. That was rather a spacious room for one's shoes and so on, and just felt nice, but there wasn't much to admire here aside from the spaciousness of it. And no, the agent decided to hurry you on into a living room, which was an even nicer space that had a deep teak color that darkened this room. Oh, have you heard about the rumors of this place? Is that what you're thinking about? I see that distant look in your face. What has happened in this room, you're guessing? Well, yes, there was once a horrifying, horrendous murder where a person was chopped to pieces on the floor here, but it is no big deal. No one could figure out why or how it had been done, but they found a body splayed out on those couches and the floor around there. Well, yes, they have been thoroughly and deeply cleaned, and you could just throw them away. They come with the house, apparently. According to the home seller, they come with it. But who knows? It might not be such a good idea to throw them away. Maybe they have some great value. A cold air nipped about the place, even though the windows were all shut, and it was a bright and warm day outside. Everything in this room also looked pristine and well taken care of once again. Not a single thing out of place or even remotely stained with blood, which was good and nice, but that same confusing feeling of too perfect that you felt outside had fallen over this room as well. Oh, and just off to the side you will find the first of 4 offices on this floor. The house seems to have been designed for someone who loved to work a lot. I don't know why, but would you like to see it? The room is quite amazing to look at. The voice magnetically drew you towards this ornate room that had been pointed out. It was dressed in fine carved wood and filled with bookcases as high as 3 stories. It was quite the sight to look up at, and the floor, oddly enough, had a bit of spring to it as you stepped inside. A glance downward as you stepped hard only showed a solid-looking wooden floor. Oh, is the floor bothering you? Yes, people say all the time when they come in here, the floor feels like it's springing up and down, they exclaim, and they're right. It does feel like that. I can't say why for sure, as everyone who looked over this area says it is rather well built. The grin from the agent was not a nice sight, as it felt plastered on with a thick, makeup-like substance that wasn't doing its job to hold it in place. A shiver ran about the room as a cold breeze crossed across it. Another step in made the floor bend, or felt like it bent, at the weight of the step. Oh, I do remember there is a rumor that this room, but it isn't a pretty one. There is, of course, no truth to it, that I've managed to see, or I've had the pleasure of seeing. What is it, you ask? Oh, I figured you'd already put it together, since it is quite simple. The floor is apparently a giant trap door, which falls away to a giant pile of spikes, or something to that nature. But this is clearly impossible, since the basement is below, and there are no pits here, or below this floor. Here we are, on the floor, feeling wobbly and unsafe, and it has been checked over many times. And each of the contractors I have had out here have said it is fine. Although I suppose I can call another one if you like, and they will look it over and give the A-OK. The agent, who had barely entered and never drifted far from the door, had kept a hold on to the handle and began moving out back towards the living room. You, in hurried steps, began to follow, feeling the floor move with each step, which only served to hasten the move much, much more. Oh, you don't have to rush. There are so many rooms to see in this house. Might I recommend that we see the kitchen next? It is a beautiful thing to behold, a sort of classical kitchen stuck in a bygone era, but with touches of modernness to keep things working oh so well. Let us hurry to it, in fact. Your hurried step brought you back through the living room and through an open door into a brightly lit kitchen. Here the wood was not a dark type that seemed to be so plentiful in the rooms you'd seen so far. The area around this kitchen felt modern, as it was spacious and wide open, allowing for much movement. Though all of the appliances had this older look, like they'd been lost and then found and then restored to their current state of working, but with modern interiors. What really caught your eye, though, was the rows and rows of knives, stuck in holders and all around the walls. The variety of them was something to look at, since it felt like they'd been wrapped around this entire kitchen space. Ah, yes, you've noticed the collection of the former owner. They had a thing for butcher's tools and other knives that sort of stood out. They, of course, will be removed and brought to the new owner's place in short order once the house is sold. They, however, made for a nice image, and so they were allowed to stay, and the owner sort of insisted on that. What was that? You think you've heard of some of these being used in murders around here? Well, it looks like we have a true connoisseur of true crime. I believe they're all replicas, all of them, but the owner did mention that they had them for some reason, or they had them for that exact reason. They wanted them to be, as far as I'm aware, to be replicas, but maybe some of them are real, I don't know. Your hard stare kept looking at them as you walked about this space. It felt good to have a firm wood floor under your feet, and almost had you jumping up and down in joy from it. You didn't do this, though, for fear of drawing glances from the agent, who was not looking at you, but was glancing everywhere else. You found yourself quick to recompose yourself so as to not upset anything, but as the realtor passed by, you felt that same cold breeze sort of following them as this agent made their way for a nearby door that was across the kitchen. The coldness made you shiver, and it had this feeling of darkness that seemed now to have taken over this kitchen and made it feel ill. Even though it was bright outside with the sun shining in all of its glory, there was an undoubtedly grey bleakness that had filled what had just been a fairly nice room. It is this way to the basement, where it has been entirely furnished and is a livable space, by the way. You won't find anywhere in the world that is as well taken care of as this basement. The door was a heavy-set thing, and it creaked open as the agent pulled it ever so slowly open. You were still across the room, unsure if you wanted to go over there. "Is there a problem? You look like you've seen a ghost with how pale you are." "I will say that this place, this home, certainly seems to have that effect on people. It isn't a nice feeling like you've seen a ghost, but it isn't true. I assure you there is nothing of the sort going on here. Now please, come." The words were not reassuring, but a few tentative steps forward, as a voice in the back of your mind kept saying, "It was okay to go over there. It's okay. It's just a basement." The door creaked open further as you approached, revealing a deep, dark space that you could not see beyond. Unsure if it was because their kitchen now felt dim or that place was just that dark, you stared at it. "It is a little challenging to look in there, but please take a step down the stairs. It's hard to see, but it is there." Your foot involuntarily stuck itself out, looking for the landing step or the first step or something. It was a search in vain for this step. You were pretty sure there was nothing there. The reassuring, yet frighteningly cold grasp of the agent grabbed your shoulder. It was slightly coming that there was there, but it was so frozen, so cold, it made you shiver. It was nice that it was holding you in place, though, and kept you safe. "Did I forget to mention that this house is one of disappearing guests? It is famous around the world, but I'm sure you already knew the horror stories and haunted tales. A true crime aficionado such as yourself would know these little things. Alas, you are the fools who get so caught up in coming to these places and falling victims to them. Of course, I can't let you get out of here now that I've revealed that, but the house is hungry, and so am I, and so goodbye." A sickening sensation came over your stomach as the sudden feeling of being pushed came to your back. The hand that had been so firm a second ago let go of holding your shoulder, and the world pitched forward into a deep, dark basement, where it felt like you would fall forever and ever into nothingness. Ta-ta! I hope you enjoy your exhausting, never-ending fall. The agent's voice came one last time, as things sank into deep, dark, icky blackness. The end of Selling a Home. Thank you for listening.